At this time, I would like to call the Illinois Liquor Control Commission to order. Let the record reflect as Wednesday, January 20th, 2021 at 1:08 p.m. My apologies. As a preliminary matter, this is Chairman Cynthia Berg speaking. Before we get started, I would ask that everyone joining us please be patient and respectful as we navigate this meeting remotely. In order for this meeting to run smoothly, please only speak when it's your turn. At this time, allow me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Commissioner Span Cooper.
Here.
Commissioner Tom Gibbons.
Here.
Commissioner Julietta LaMalfa.
Here.
Commissioner Don O'Connell.
Here.
Commissioner Stephen Powell.
I'm here.
Yay. Commissioner Polito Sanchez.
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tima Enya.
Here.
Rick Haymaker.
Here.
Avi Zisuk.
Here.
Dean Agiris.
Here.
Are there any other staff members present?
Yes, Les Peterson.
Ushanka Marian.
Tom Schwanhart.
Michelle Flagg.
Jason Youngberg.
Jason, thank you, Jason. Most important guy for me today. Oh, just kidding. Happy New Year and good day, everyone. I thank you in advance for your patience and cooperation throughout today's meeting, which is convening remotely via WebEx events. On March 9th, 2020, April 1st, April 30th, May 29th, June 26th, July 24th, August 21st, September 18th, October 16th, November 13th, and lastly, December 11th, 2020. And most recently, January 8th, 2021, Governor Pritzker issued disaster proclamations for the entire state of Illinois regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Normally, the Illinois Liquor Control Commission would hold meetings in the James R. Thompson Center in Chicago. However, on March 13th, 2020, Governor Pritzker issued Executive Order 2020-04, reissued by 2021-01, which closed the Thompson Center to members of the public. This meeting of the Illinois Liquor Control Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Public Act 101-0640 and Governor Pritzker's Executive Order 2021-01 issued on January 8, 2021, which reissued Executive Order 2020-07 on March 16th, which suspended open meetings and provisions relating to in-person attendance by members of a public body. In order to mitigate the transmission of the virus, Executive Order 2020-07 encourages public bodies to postpone public business when possible. Therefore, today's agenda has been kept to a minimum. The Open Meetings Act requires public bodies to allow for public comment according to the rules of the public body. This meeting will feature public comment. Members of the public interested in commenting at this meeting were asked to provide their comment in writing via email by 5 p.m. yesterday. Pursuant to section 100.410F of the Administrative Rules governing ILCC, those who wish to speak during public comment were asked to pre-register via email by 1 p.m. yesterday. Those individuals will be called upon and granted permission to speak during the public comment portion of this meeting. Those individuals who pre-register to speak, please ensure that the information you registered with matches your WebEx registration info. Please note the meeting is being recorded as well as transcribed by a court reporter, and that attendees are participating by web audio conference. The agenda for this meeting has been posted on the website, and we recommend that members and the public follow along the agenda as posted. Before turning to the first item on the agenda, allow me to cover the ground rules for clear and conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes and transcript. I, Chair Berg, will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, the chair will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold your comment until your name is called. Remember to mute your phone or computer when you're not speaking. Remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes and to assist our court reporter. For any response or any comment on any item, please wait till the chair yields the floor and always state your name before speaking. Finally, each vote will be taken according to roll call vote today. Item number 1, roll call. Secretary Agiris, would you please call the roll?
Chair Berg.
Here.
Commissioner Gibbons,
Here.
Commissioner Polito Sanchez,
Here.
Commissioner Stan Cooper,
Here.
Commissioner LaMalfa,
Here.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Here.
and Commissioner Powell.
Here.
Thank you. Item number 2, do I have a motion for the approval of the meeting of minutes of the board held on November 18th, 2020?
So moved.
Second, Commissioner Gibbons.
Thank you, Commissioner Gibbons and Commissioner Paul. It has been properly moved and seconded. Secretary Jaros, would you please call the roll?
Chair Berg,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbons,
Yay.
Commissioner Polito Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Stan Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner LaMalfa,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Yes.
and Commissioner Powell.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 3, receive Executive Director Enya's report.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Commission. This is Chima Enya. I apologize in advance for the video, but I will proceed with presenting the update stemming back from December. So first and foremost, I want to thank our staff just for enabling us to get through a very challenging year, but in doing so, not missing a beat when it comes to providing a level of service to every licensee, problem solving, thinking on the fly, many long nights, long days, to make sure we keep all information, particularly around COVID-19, up to date. And the industry knows exactly where the Commission stands on various issues and topics that come up from day to day. So over the course of last year, I just want to thank the commissioners and our staff for just the support and collaboration. In terms of the Executive Director's report, as mentioned in November, we were to spend the month of December reviewing all of our operations, reviewing our goals from the previous year, although many things unforeseen that impeded us from the ability to achieve some of those goals from last year. But essentially reviewing all of those goals and objectives and crafting those into an annual report and strategic plan. And so we have developed and provided a draft annual report, which includes the transition plan that you all have, the strategic plan, FY21 budget, a summary of every COVID-19 related directive, our up-to-date organizational chart, and our affirmative action EEO plan. And so we really wanted to spend the month of December just doing a comprehensive review and prioritizing and preparing a draft that over the course of this month, we can solicit additional feedback towards publishing a final version and making sure that it includes all of the input from the commissioners to you all, that is satisfactory to you all. So the purpose of providing that draft ahead of time is just to give us through the month of January through February to refine it, finalize it, and publish it with the goal of publishing in February. So there may be questions that you all will have, that the commissioners will have on that draft. We can answer those questions either in this form or individually as we work through the finer points of the draft over this coming month.
Madam Chairman,
Go ahead, Commissioner O'Connell.
Right here.
I would just like to commend the director and the staff on what I see as the most comprehensive and clearly written annual report with the achievable goals for 2021. I think it's tremendous. It's the best I've seen since I've been here.
Thank you. for that. And those kudos go to the staff for just their due diligence and really getting into the weeds, because we want to put our best foot forward despite every curveball that was thrown at us last year. So thank you for that comment, and that should be well received by our entire staff on this call. Chairman Berg, that concludes the director's report. And if you would like to proceed to the operations, you can do so.
Thank you. Did anyone else have any further comments or questions from Director Enya on that topic? Okay, item number 4. We will proceed with ILCC operations and PA 100-1050 from Director Enya. Thank you.
Yeah, so just by way of ILCC operations, a couple quick notes. We are looking to bring on board our HR manager February 1st. This individual will help us with our reorg efforts and hiring in the positions that we still have vacant. There was a restructuring in the Department of Central Management Services of their entire hiring process. So this individual will need to be trained coming in, but our date is February 1st for them to come in and really hit the ground running. With COVID-19, through the holiday season and up till now, we are still working 100% remote. With the the current environment, we are still planning to, at whatever date it is deemed safe, and as the vaccines are taken across the country and that number continues to rise, we'll be able to foresee getting back into the office at a later date. But at moment, we're still working remotely, and as I mentioned, we haven't lost any steps in terms of productivity or responsiveness to the needs of the industry. With that being said, there are a couple other positions that we're looking to hire, one in IT. As mentioned in the strategic plan, a lot of the functions that we're going to need to execute this year will be contingent on our IT division, working with the various other divisions in the commission. And so we have one staff member coming on there, series of positions, investigators and inspectors that we're looking to bring on board, and that we have from previous years budget allocated for that headcount. So it's not going to be a negative hit on future headcount. This is money that we have available that we weren't able to make those hires earlier, that we're looking to fill now. So we are in a very good place. As mentioned, last year was a transition for many reasons, but we are in a good place with regard to separating from the Department of Revenue. It's essentially complete. And so a lot of the operational aspects of the commission were included in the transition plan for more detail. Chair Berg.
Thank you, Director Enya. Any board member have any questions or comments about said items? All right, there are none. We will move on to item number 5, receive updates on the COVID-19 directives.
Yes, so over the course of the month of December and January, there have not been, well, since January, there have not been any new COVID-19 directives. What we did do was ensure that we updated our website as the governor updated the mitigations, and the Department of Public Health updated their mitigation requirements. So currently, Region 8, 9, 10, and 11 are in Tier 2. Region 1 and 6 are in Tier 1, which is less restrictive than Tier 2. And then Region 3 and 5 are in Phase 4 of the governor's original Restore Illinois plan. If individuals go to our website and if they click on the link that we provided, they will have maps to all of the regions and the various requirements, limited dining, etc., in the corresponding region. So we really tried to publish that information on social media and send that out as well via email to all of our licensees. We've also updated our license renewal extensions through April 1st. And so all licensees with a renewal date of March 31st, 2020 are automatically extended through March 31st, 2021. And so this is another effort that we were able to publish in December that allows our licensees to, really provide some regulatory relief to our licensees who've had a very troubling year to extend their license renewal date. Beyond that, we have just updated our frequently asked questions. So as always, commissioners, we tell all of our licensees just check back to our website regularly to receive updates from the commission and frequently asked questions. We get calls, emails on a regular basis, and what we do on a week-to-week basis is aggregate them, identify which of those calls and emails are reoccurring, and incorporate those questions into our frequently asked items, as well as things that we get from industry members who are regularly querying their membership to get clarity on, the COVID-19 updates and other regulatory matters. So those are the only things that we have done with regard to COVID since December, just the license renewals and the updates to the tier mitigation changes. Bert?
Thank you, Director Inya. Does any board member have a question or comment regarding the COVID-19 updates? All right.
This is Commissioner Lamont. I just want to clarify, you mentioned that the extension of the renewals provides regulatory relief, but it also provides financial relief, yes?
Yes. So ultimately, the individuals will have to renew. We are just not requiring them to pay that fee and renew at this time. As you know, the budget of the commission is contingent upon the license fees as well as finding other things that go into credit stop. And so it's just extending that period of time in hopes of providing a little bit more cushion as we weather this COVID-19 storm.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes that. And there's also no late fee we suspended late fees for those particular licensees within that time period. That concludes the COVID-19 update.
Item number 6, receive update on legislation from Director Inya.
Was there the diversity and inclusion piece, or did we skip that one? Okay. We are now in the 102nd General Assembly. We have reviewed the legislation that was passed in lame duck session from the 101st General Assembly. What we want to do from last year, we did not provide any recommendations or pursue legislation as ILCC initiative last year. And so what we wanted to do was just provide a draft recommendations and ideas strictly for review at this point in time. And so not necessarily discussing the specifics of these legislative items at this point in time, but to provide the commissioners ideas, recommendations, best practices, and after having done our operational administrative changes that we feel may be necessary in order to better run the commission. So the legislation that you all see that we provided, all in draft form, are specific to that purpose, to be able to review over the course of the next month or so and have conversations, be able to ask questions and make modifications, and potentially propose legislation in the 102nd General Assembly. Now, the legislative session regularly starts in January and ends in May. We're still keeping an eye, on the legislature to, just in case anything changes as a result of COVID on meeting dates and the actual schedule. But we would want to have as much time as possible to deliberate. And part of that is us getting those ideas to you all for the purpose of reviewing through the month of January, and then to be able to discuss at length in February and beyond of the past legislation. There were two items that passed both chambers in the lame duck session. And as mentioned, the lame duck session is the period of time where the legislature meets between the time of an election where certain members will not be returning for the ensuing 102nd General Assembly. And so those two bills that you have in your package that we can discuss a little bit more at length are House Bill 3393 and Senate Bill 54. House Bill 3393 dealt with three primary areas. One was, and we provided this summary to the legislature and to all commissioners, the legislature, and industry members who requested. It dealt with of value. It dealt with credit cards, the ability for retailers to use credit cards for purchases, and it also dealt with an extension of the sunset of cocktails to go. The of value portion allowed suppliers to provide equipment and other items to retailers through a nonprofit organization. We provided our comments on that. That was of particular concern to the commission, and we expressed that in our summary. The bill nonetheless did pass with those other items. So as a regulatory body, we just have to make do with what was passed and make the best of it to make sure that it's streamlined in its implementation. The second bill, Senate Bill 54, is one that has been recurring over the past 4 or 5 General Assemblies. Deals with allowing delivery within a 12-hour period of time. It clarifies and delineates between shipping and delivery, and it has a couple of other items that we provided in our summary. That bill also did pass the General Assembly and is headed to the governor's desk. Oh, I'm sorry. The HB 3393 did not pass the Senate, but it's something that we are keeping a good watch on and making sure that we are continuing to meet with the sponsors on that legislation. And so with those two items, I apologize for misspeaking, with those two items, we would like to present those two items to the commission as one item that we're continuing to watch, and the other that has passed and that we're looking to see whether the governor will sign.
So Chima, just so I'm clear, so for HB 3393, since it wasn't passed, does that mean that the cocktails to go is scheduled to sunset then?
The HB 3393 did pass the Senate, but was not called for a vote in the House. So it did in fact die in the General Assembly in the 101st General Assembly. What I meant to communicate was that we perceived that bill coming back up in a new iteration in the 102nd. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Does any board member have any questions or comments on these items, on legislation?
Yes, Commissioner Gibbons.
Go ahead, Commissioner Gibbons.
Seeing as though the state of Illinois tends to operate at the last minute when it comes to legislative matters, what is our communication with the legislators? I mean, do we have you see our newsletters? Do they, I mean, how do we keep them as informed as possible before they get to that last minute?
So what we generally do, we ask, and as we have asked in our commission meetings, both the legislature and industry members to provide us with copies or just insight into what they're planning for the upcoming sessions. We know, even in doing so, sometimes bills come up last minute or are introduced last minute. And so what we try to do is just keep the dialogue open. When we do see a bill, or when we do hear that a legislator is looking to introduce a bill, we will reach out and we'll ask for a copy of that language. And when we receive a copy of that language, we work with our legal team to provide a summary of that language and what the commission's position will potentially be. In this case, we provided the commissioners a copy of our summary. We provide industry members who may inquire about what our position is, a copy of the summary, and we also provide legislators and their staff our summary. As a regulatory body, you know, we don't necessarily deal on the front end policy side of an issue outside of providing the potential impacts of legislation, but we do, endeavor to be absolutely clear about that to legislators when they introduce bills. So we did communicate with Senator Feigenholt on her bills, and we make it a routine to, once things are passed, to send them out. And so we did have a couple bills that we're looking at this General Assembly, and we foresee that, as many times they do, even if it dies in the 101st, it will come back around in the 102nd. But we have been working in earnest and in good faith with the various interest groups to make sure that our concerns are heard, but that we do try to broker some type of understanding as these bills move through.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? It's a big topic.
Madam Chairman,
Go ahead, Mr. Chair O'Connell.
I have a question. I just want to make sure these two aren't approved, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but in reviewing some of the stuff that was sent, the summary suspension in emergency circumstances giving the executive director power to put a suspension on, was that passed?
No, those are, that's legislation, that's separate from the legislation that was actually moved in the 101st General Assembly. Those are
okay, so that
have yet to be reviewed and discussed at length with
okay,
the
same. Is that the same as the requirement for an ID?
Yes.
Check.
So the only two that were introduced in the 101st General Assembly were House Bill 3393 and Senate Bill 54. And so now, with the additional legislation that we will discuss in detail at a future date, once reviewed and vetted, those potentially will be introduced in the 102nd General Assembly, which has commenced.
Okay, I think that anything from, I think there's 10 items on here that we can all discuss amongst our two at a time and review and discuss what we really would like to see move forward and things that we would not like to include in some of these. So we will have plenty of discussion amongst us regarding that. And also, I believe we will try to have something in executive session so that we can all confer on a regular basis before February to determine what we all agree upon as a consensus.
If I may, Commissioner Gibbons, I have one more point and question. One of the more important issues that we've been dealing with the last 2 or 3 years has been the cooperative buying. And unfortunately, JCAR kept putting it back and it never was decided on as far as I heard. As we look toward the future and trying to resolve this issue, do you see any daylight there? Do you see that we're going to get to a resolution on this in the near future?
I have been assured from both parties that we're primarily discussing and debating this issue, that they're very close to agreement on the lion's share of items that were brought up. And so my objective is to bring those parties together within the next month to check in and see if there is a plan to move an agenda forward legislatively, or if there is a plan to again, if we would need to take the steps of revisiting that issue, cooperative purchasing through JCAR. But all indications from both sides have mentioned that they are very close on the last remaining items. And so we would look to get an update on that before our next commission meeting to have a definitive direction from both parties, a definitive agreement or not from both parties before our next commission meeting. Commissioner Gibbons, that's something that I'll personally follow up with you on and the rest of the interested parties and provide an update ahead of our next commission meeting. I know that's something that you and many are very passionate about, and we have not allowed that to get off the table. We had some calls this past week where they notified us that they were very close, and so we're just going to get it over the line.
Thank you, Chima.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
just a question regarding Commissioner Gibbons' question. If this appears to be stalled again, should we consider a legislative alternative? So if by February, say that we find out that they're not as close as they thought they were, should we consider a legislative correction on what we want to do?
Well, I'm not really interested in pursuing something if JCAR is not able to resolve it. I don't know how we will be.
Okay.
And to that point, I believe that the parties are, based on what has been represented to me, that they are working in good faith, but there will be options that the commissioners can discuss if ultimately an agreement is not had. And there is a potential for either one of those parties to introduce legislation on their own. So again, our objective is to broker an agreement that best suits the industry and best suits our regulatory ability. And it's been represented to us that there is an agreement close. If not, I believe we can expect either legislation or administrative remedy. But either way, we will not let this item get off of the table until it's absolutely resolved.
This is Commissioner Polito Sanchez. Chima, given that there's been some recent leadership changes in terms of JCAR, might there be a delay in making a decision? Or might there be an opportunity, to Commissioner O'Connell's point?
Yeah, there are a few different remedies. One is to have an agreement that is remedied legislatively, that all parties can present an agreed bill that we know will move forward quickly. The second option, if there is not agreement, there's a possibility that either one of the entities could file legislation, and we would have to opine on that at that point. The third remedy is to, again, with the new, newly constituted JCAR in this new session, to look at what options are available there. If the process that we did undertake, whether that's feasible or not. So we would have to do some calculus. We're really just looking to provide an opportunity to obtain an agreement. But if not, we will have to move forward with the business of the commission, which is addressing this problem that we know is existing and that we undertook for over a year.
Anyone else?
Just one quick question on the SB 54. So again, that one has passed. We're waiting for the governor to sign that, or at least that's what's expected for him to sign that. When do we expect to roll that out, right? So when would our retailers be expected to comply by?
Well, we generally, if there's an immediate effective date, we generally will use some time, sort of a grace period, to be able to educate the industry on change in legislation. So at the point at which it's signed, immediately on our website, you'll be able to find a bullet that details for the industry what the legislation is, what it entails, and what the commission will be doing to implement the legislation. That will be posted on our website. That will be blasted out to every industry member. And at that point in time, we will be looking to phase in immediately the law and implement the law. But we're preparing preparing all the documents in our communication strategy around getting the word out for that piece of legislation, if it is signed.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, moving on. Item number 7, receive division reports from licensing, enforcement, legal, and industry education. Director Enya.
Yeah, so this, and what I wanted to provide and what I asked all of our staff today to do was to just be available if there are any questions that commissioners would have in their respective divisions. What we provided in our strategic plan for the year really gets into, as mentioned, everything that we went through last year, what our accomplishments from last year, what we're looking to accomplish this year, and how we're going to get there. And so it delved into the highlights of each division, what our goals are for the coming year, and just what we look to accomplish, and how we're going to continue to improve. That just have a mentality of continuous improvement. And so all of that is detailed in the strategic plan that was provided. And I would open up the floor to the commissioners if you had any questions, particularly for our division managers on any of the items in reports.
So Jimmy, sorry. You wanted them to respond to the strategic plan portion of each of those, or did you want to give any other further updates?
Yeah, so the general update, so I was just mentioning that a lot of the updates for the year through December up through January are included in the strategic planning reports, the annual report. The primary objective of this year for licensing, we are looking to go 100% online with new applicants. We provided summaries of the COVID impact, and also our licensing numbers in our report. Legal, we are looking to go electronic with our docketing systems. Industry education, we have had a lot of success with some of our more recent campaigns. We're looking to launch all new content on YouTube and social media, and really look at how to revolutionize creativity in industry education and enforcement. What you'll see in our report is just some new technology that we were able to acquire that allows us to more efficiently and effectively track information, track illegal operations across the border, and just enhance our training and make sure that as the industry evolves, our training evolves to accommodate the responsibilities that our agents are tasked with. So again, our division reports are wrapped up for this month, specifically in our strategic plan. But if there are any questions, we are available to those.
Commissioner Gibbons, if I read part of one of these reports, as far as you just touched on videos, I think I saw that there were. Oh,
You were
I'm
breaking
sorry.
up. I couldn't hear you at all.
I'm sorry. You think I read that there were 11 new categories that we would try to, or we are attempting to do a video for. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, so we are looking to do a lot more video-based online training and information, utilizing YouTube and a few other social media platforms. And so Michelle, who's been an excellent part of our staff, is coordinating that effort across divisions to make sure that, one thing that was requested last year from the wineries was to be able to have some training on what is expected when an inspection takes place, right? And so certain things like that are easy instructional, informational videos that we can develop that will just make sure that we have more tools to provide to ensure that our processes are transparent and individuals know what to expect.
It's outstanding. I think it's a great idea for communication. I hope, I'm sure we can, staff that you have. One more question, if I could, for enforcement, Les. In one of the reports, again, I did see that it talked about theft. What type of theft are we talking about?
There's numerous cases of it, but one, for an example, would be like theft from a railroad car, theft from cargo trucks, on the interstate, that type of thing.
Okay, all right. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Anybody else? Great job, Les. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 8. Is there anyone who wished to address the board in public commenting?
No comments.
No one wants to speak telephone or on the phone with us?
No submissions today.
All right, let the record reflect there are none. Item number 9, receive comments from the board. Does any board member care to comment this time? Commissioner Span Cooper?
I'm sorry, no.
Commissioner Gibbons?
No, thank you.
Commissioner LaMalfa?
Not at this time, thank you.
Commissioner O'Connell?
Of course. I have a suggestion for procedure on appeals that are heard by the board. We set it up that 2 commissioners would definitely be present, and that is arranged prior to. And then I'm going to suggest that all commissioners receive prior to that, to the date of that appeal, the transcripts and any other materials for that appeal, and then also the link to go to that appeal, so that should a commissioner read the background and have some interest in the case, they would be able to attend. I don't think we set it up that it would just be 2 commissioners, that we said there had to be 2. So this would allow commissioners to decide if they wanted to also attend. But we would set it up that we do have 2 definite, and then others could attend if they wanted, once they know what the case is and if there are any issues in the case that concern them.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Connell. I think that's a great idea. I, for one, really like to read everything ahead of time instead of waiting till the last minute before a board meeting.
Well, this would be even before the hearing that we would get that material.
And in turn, it would make things expedited for everyone involved and not have to read 300 pages the day of anything as well. So I'm all on board with that. And everyone else is always welcome. We don't just have to have 2, that's for sure. But I know when we're meeting in person, you know, we had 3 most times, Commissioner O'Connell, Gibbons, and myself. But this opens up the WebEx. All of us can participate at any time, for sure. So thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Powell?
This time, thank you.
Commissioner Polito Sanchez?
None at this time, thank you.
Thank you. I was noticing, Chima just let me know that we're missing a diversity inclusion on the website. I'm not sure what that means, Chima. Do you want to include it now?
So just wanted to mention in previous months, we sent a letter. We received some requests from members of the legislature to provide insight into the industry diversity and inclusion efforts. And so we provided a letter soliciting that input or just the state of the industry with regard to diversity and inclusion, and recommendations on policies and regulatory impediments or barriers, information on current programs, on future programs, and just what the industry is doing as a whole, as well as the Liquor Control Commission to be inclusive. And so to date, what we provided in the commissioner's packet was just the responses that we have received from the industry members. We received responses from the Associated Beer Distributors, the Illinois Craft Brewers Guild, the Illinois Retail Merchant Association, WISD, the Wine and Spirits of Illinois, and the wineries, the Grape Growers and Vintners Association. And so that was provided in your packet. We'll be looking to, if there are questions, what we can do is answer those questions, provide a forum opportunities at future meetings to ask questions of industry members and see how we can continue to encourage and support those efforts.
Thank you, Chima. Sorry, because of the change with the agenda yesterday, I did not have that on. I apologize.
Can I make a comment, Chair Berg? And thank you,
Sure.
Chima, for bringing that up. I did have an opportunity to look over some of the reports, and I appreciate you submitting them to us. I think that the organizations, IRMA and some of the other ones that participated were noble in presenting them to us. However, I would hope as we move forward, Chima, that we may ask that they get a little more specific. It was enlightening, but that which cannot be counted cannot be measured. And so when they talk about having boards and the number of appointments on the boards, I would like to know a little more demographic, a little deeper in the demographics of their boards and other information that they're shared. I think a lot of them show goodwill in supporting many community efforts, and some of them were a little more detailed than others. So maybe with a few more directives from us, we could have a more robust report.
Yeah, I will. This is Commissioner LaMalfa. I second that. There was different. I also reviewed the material. There was different level of. Well, one, it seems like they're all in different places, right? So it's good to know that information. I, for one, would like to know a little bit more about what our role is going to be in terms of the guidance that we could be providing. I understand that some of them are parts or members maybe of larger organizations, and they're taking advantage of some of those initiatives, which was very refreshing to hear. I was disappointed with a few of the comments that we got back in terms of, again, the transparency, right? And I am going to give them the benefit of the doubt that, maybe they just didn't know how detailed they had to be. But frankly, one in particular, there was just like no visibility into anything that they're doing. And my concern there is that there isn't maybe a strong desire to do much in this space. And I think that is part of the guidance that we have to provide. Is some of them talked about the economic development piece that their business, right, and their industry brings to.
Commissioner, I think you cut out.
I'm sorry, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I apologize. I was just saying that some of them spoke to the economic impact that their industry has to the state, and while I think that that's very important, it is not necessarily part of this. When we go back to additional information, I love that some of them pointed to some of the bigger initiatives that their larger members are undertaking. I think that that's important, but then in those reports, what was lacking is what they as an association are doing to support their, especially their small ones, right? That's where we're going to have a little bit of a gap and a challenge, and I'd like to know a bit more from the industry members, like how they plan to support the smaller members, what kind of resources they'll be, they're contemplating kind of part, because I think that that's particularly the commission can provide, some support, right, and pointing them to the right direction. But I applaud the going this in the first place, because again, to bring to the and through that are successful and not, I think adds a lot of value. Not ecstatic at some of, at some of the reports. Definitely, I think it's the beginning of a journey.
Thank you for that, and I think what we can do, Commissioner, is just continue to work with them to get details and see where there can be some standardization and recommendations. But we can work with you all, the commissioners, to identify those questions and maybe provide forum to those industry members and encourage more associations to submit just what their ideas are about recommendations, and then how we can move the ball forward and support those efforts as a commission. So we will. This is an ongoing thing. It's not going to go anywhere soon, and we look forward to bridging those gaps.
Chima, this is Commissioner Polina Sanchez. It makes me go back to what was instituted under your leadership, Chima, which was at every commission meeting we gave the industry an opportunity to speak. And I just see that this is I feel like this is an extension of it. This is, we want them to speak. We want them to provide us with a little more information. To Melody's point about it being a little more robust, and they're knowing what we're we would like to see, because I think it's very standard for the industry as a rule to talk about their economic impact, talk about the number of employees. But I think what I'd like to see, and agree with my two fellow commissioners, is drilling down a little more on more the actual demographics, more data points, et cetera. But I kind of see it as an extension of what already has been in place. We've given an opportunity, we've given them a forum to speak and speak to us about what's concerning them and what's going on in their individual section of the industry. So we're just going to, I just think it's just another extension of it.
Yeah, that's something that we can absolutely move in the direction of scheduling and providing that. In the initial letter that we sent, we requested written with the understanding that there may be, or that there can very well be a follow-up conversation in front of the commission or with the commissioner about the details of those plans and strategies and those avenues. So absolutely here, the direction that you all want to go, we will work to get those up and running.
Thank you. I agree with all of, oh, excuse me, sorry. Was there someone else talking?
No, I was just saying, thank you.
Thank you. I really think that we can drill down a little further and maybe have some ideas about what the demographics, maybe they're not being met by transportation or other things that the industry is experiencing, that maybe we could have suggestions as well and have like a business spotlight or feature somebody once the COVID's over. Or maybe even on a meeting of this sort, maybe starting in March, a little bit when things maybe lighten up with the vaccines forthcoming. I think that's a great idea. I mean, there's a lot of things that inhibit companies from hiring if people aren't trained or don't have transportation to getting to where they need to be. So I think it's a very important avenue that we all look at. And I think that a lot of the, the board's members of the city of Chicago and outlying areas, and maybe we can come together and help out. Okay, at this, item number 10, at this time, the commission will adjourn to executive session. This executive session is closed to the public. The commission is entering executive session for the purpose of discussing testimony and evidence presented to the commission during a hearing. This is authorized pursuant to section 2C1 and 4 of the Open Meetings Act. Members of the public will no longer be able to see or hear the meeting, although the meeting will not end. Upon conclusion of the executive session, the commission will return to the regular meeting, which is open to the public. Do I have such a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved, Commissioner O'Connell here.
Second, Powell.
Thank you, Commissioner O'Connor and Powell. It's been properly moved and seconded. Secretary Agiris, would you please call the roll?
Chair Berg,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbons,
Yes.
Commissioner Polito Sanchez.
Yeah.
Commissioner Span Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner LaMalfa,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connell. Commissioner O'Connell. Yes. And Commissioner Powell.
Yes.